Okay, one of the listeners on the channel sent me a question, and she wanted to know a couple of things about how to use the phone effectively in dating. So rather than answer her individually, I thought, this is probably something good for people for more people to hear. So let me just make a quick video about this topic. Now, what's really interesting is, I swear it's just so coincidental. About a week ago, I was having a conversation with one of my male buddies, and he was telling me how he would have a woman's number, and then he would call her like a week later, and he was shocked at the women's response and how they didn't really want to talk and all, and he didn't understand it. And I pointed out to him that, if a woman gives you her number when you ask for it, and she does it without any hesitation and there's some enthusiasm in it, she's looking for you to call her right away. And he was like, well, everybody says it shows that you're desperate, that you don't have anything going on, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, well, when you're in high school, baby, that might be an issue. But if you're dealing with women in their 30s and sometimes even older, these ladies are they're not trying to play those little silly juvenile games. If she gave you her number, you need to call her the same day or by the latest the next day. That's what I'm saying. Call, what they used to say, strike while the iron is hot. So you don't want to wait around for a week, because see, now it's looking like you're playing silly games. You only call her because you don't have shit else to do. That it was just something to do while she's mistakenly thinking that you're serious and you really want to get to know her. In reality, you just kind of, collected numbers or something, and you're just going to call her whenever you roll through the other numbers and they don't work out. Now, the reason why I say that is because, I have a bunch of brothers, and I used to watch my oldest brother, who was like a major player. He's an Omega. That should tell you something. And when he would go out with his friends, he would always come back with multiple phone numbers, and he would put them in 3 piles on his dresser. It was the most interesting thing to see. So he put these ladies into 3 piles. And in the first stack would be maybe just 1, maybe 2 names and numbers. And then in the middle one, he would put, probably, I don't know, maybe another 2 or 3. And then in the other pile would go everybody else. And his way of doing it was, the ones in the first pile were the ones he was really interested in. He would call them right away. The ones in the middle, he would get around to calling them a couple of days later, maybe over the weekend, see what they're doing, this kind of thing, if the other 2 didn't really work out. And the last ones, he would call them whenever he had hit a dry spell and was coming up with us, remember we met so-and-so, blah, 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 and would have some fanciful tale about why he hadn't called earlier. So watching that, growing up, and I mean, he never lied to the women or anything, as far as trying to manipulate them or cheat on his girlfriend or anything. It wasn't that. It was just an indicator to me that when a guy is really interested in you, he makes it known, and he makes it known right away. So you ladies hanging around, you're waiting for these dudes to call you a week later, and you still give them some play, that sends a very weird message on your part of desperation. Now, because at the most, it should be like 2 days later. If he's calling you a week, 2 weeks after you gave him your number, then you ought to know what time it is. And if he calls, you're supposed to be hitting him with the what? Who? Where do we meet? I don't know what you're talking about. And get off the phone, because that dude is not serious. He's just playing around and being silly. So then she asked this one question, so say you meet a guy, right? Do you ask for his number? Or do you give him your number, or do you exchange numbers? And I thought, I added some to that question because she just wanted to know, do you give him yours? But I added the other 2. Because that's the modern way to do it, is people exchange numbers. They put them right through their cell phone, and some people have that thing where it beams, their contact information. You don't even have to type anything. You just mash a button and it beams to the other person's phone. I'm still kind of old-fashioned though, and I'm like, if a guy is interested in me, I need to know. And I want him to put in the work, and I want him to call me. I don't call men. I mean, I have some, male buddies I will occasionally reach out to, but I'm talking about in a romantic sense. I'm not calling you. I'm never gonna call you. I will never call you first. You will die waiting for that shit to happen. And so I never give, I don't take their number. I don't do that exchange number thing either. If he wants my number, I give it to him, and then I just wait for him to call. If a certain number of days go by and then he calls, then, like I said, he might get the who, what, huh? The most effective guy, and this was really funny. We went out for a while, then after that we were really good friends for a long time. And this guy, I met him at Jeffrey's, Jeffrey's in Oakland. I used to hang out there all the time. So I met him at Jeffrey's Inner Circle. And, he was fun. We danced. He bought me a drink. We laughed and talked and stuff. And he asked me for my number. So, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, my cell phone rings. So I dig it out of my purse. It's this fool calling me from the other side of the club. I just wanted to make sure this was your real phone number before I left. And I thought that was so funny. But it just showed me, how interested he was. And then he called me later, I told him I'd be leaving the club around, when it closed. And then my friends and I were going to go get something to eat. So he called me while we were out eating, and it's 2:30 in the morning now. I'm giggling on the phone with this fool. It was so funny. He was such a fun person. And then he would call frequently, during the week and after that. So that's how I look at it. If the man really wants to, be in contact with you, he's going to make it happen. So all you ladies sitting there waiting for the phone to ring and looking at your phone and wondering if you should text him and all this other stuff, just chalk that up to he wasn't really interested and move on. Don't waste your time. So how long should you wait for the guy to call? As I said, I give him a maximum of 2 days. That's me. Some of you might be busy. If you're going out of town and you tell him that you're not really going to be available, you're going to a conference, business thing, some kind of whatever, family vacation, you're on a cruise. You know what I mean? There's going to be some situations that come up that are going to change that. But in general, he should be reaching out really quickly. So then let's talk about this. So after you meet him initially, how long should you wait for a guy to text or call you? Well, we kind of already covered that. Then look at what's his text to call ratio. Now, I know these young people are all into this texting thing. I'm more old school. To me, texting is very impersonal because, you can send out the same text to 40 people and everybody's going to think that they're the only one that got it, depending on how you have your thing set up. So you can say, good morning to 10 different women. Good morning, sweetheart. Good morning, angel face. Good morning, babe. Whatever you want to do. And they all going to get the text. I don't like that. So, call me. I want to hear your voice. And you should be wanting to hear mine. And I think if you got a ratio where the texts are more than, I'd say, I'm looking for a ratio of, say, 2 texts to each phone call. Even if the phone call is very short, it's still a phone call. It's still a personal, a segment of your day that is personal that you carved out for this individual. And I think that's very important. You cannot establish and maintain a relationship by text. And too many guys try to get away with that, and you guys let them do it. You never have any real personal contact with the dude until he comes over and want to screw. Other than that, your whole contact with him is by text. What kind of bullshit is that? How is that a relationship? It's very impersonal. He could be out with some other girl and he's texting you, from under the table or in the bathroom or something. I don't know. I'm not down with all that texting. Now, I admit, though, that I'm not really a person who likes to talk on the phone that much. I'll do it, but it's not my favorite thing to do. I just don't like talking on the phone. I have attention span of a gnat when it comes to that kind of stuff. By, the 10-15 minute mark, I'm starting to look around, and I start looking out the window, seeing what's going on over there, and, looking on my bookshelf and just thinking about other stuff. My attention starts to wander. My ADD kicks in. So, a short phone call with whatever information he wants to tell me, see about my day, tell me about his or something. Okay, then let's get off the phone because I have other shit to do. So these people who want to stay on the phone for hours and hours and fall asleep on the phone and all of those stuff, y'all need more to do. You need some hobbies or interests or something to do with your time, because nobody should be having, hours and hours to waste like that. That just doesn't even make any sense. Even husbands and wives, they're in the same house, you don't see them sitting there just running their mouths like that all the time. People are doing other stuff. They're multitasking, or they have to run errands, or they have to do stuff. You can't just sit around talking on the damn phone all the time. It's like, what you got to talk about? Oh my God, I can't do that. So then, let's see. Let's talk about when they want to ask you out, because this is a big one. Dudes will ask girls out by text, and y'all will let them get away with that. My thing is this: if you're not man enough to pick up the phone and ask me out using your words, I have nothing to say to you. Oh, this you're dead to me. So what you want to do is call the girl and ask her out by phone, and then if you need to make follow-up arrangements, like say, okay, I'm going to get tickets, I'll tell you what time I'll pick you up or so. Okay, then you can do that by text, the follow-up. But the asking someone out, that should never be done by text. That is like so cowardly and so impersonal. I don't know. I can't even imagine, interacting with somebody like that who would ask me to go on a date by text. I would just be so insulted. That wouldn't work for me at all. So then let's talk about returning calls, because that's another one. Now, remember that book, The Rules? They were telling women, you only return like one call for however many times he calls you or something like that. I don't really have a rule like that. I do think, though, that, these guys that try to be all spontaneous and want to call you and ask you out for that same day, unless that's your man, you know what I mean? You all have an established situation in place. No, you should never accept the same day date. I mean, most people get up in the morning, they already have stuff to do that day. So somebody calling you to try to get you to go on a date with them at the last minute like that means you're going to have to cancel some other things and rearrange your schedule to meet his demand. I do not advocate that you get in the habit of doing that, because it just makes you seem too desperate, like you don't have nothing going on in your life. You have no friends, you have no activities. You're just sitting at home, twiddling your thumbs, waiting for some man to call so that you can hit a switch, and then suddenly you activate into a real human. You ought to have stuff going on. So you're not playing hard to get. You are hard to get. You have shit to do, places to go, people to meet. That's how your life should be structured. If you don't have that kind of stuff going on, you need to get you some business. You need to, like I said, get your ass in a class. Pick up some hobbies and interests, or do something with yourself. Because you should not be just sitting around like that, and the only activity that you have in your life is waiting for some man to, to pick you up and do something with you. No, you need to be more interesting than that. So, that's the thing. So as far as returning the call, I got a little sidetracked. Sorry about that. As far as returning the call, if you're interested in a guy, you would do it as quickly as you can. Sometimes you're at work and you might have to work late, or you got to run and do something after work before 6 o'clock when the thing closes or whatever. But you can always call the person or text them and say, I'm going to call you back at such and such a time, or when I get home, or after I do this and that. So just hold tight. I did get your message, blah, blah, blah. So communicate. Let them know what's going on, and let them know when you will be available to talk. Because if that person called you, that meant they wanted to talk to you. So you don't blow that off, because then you kind of blow it off like you just taking a person for granted. You could destroy whatever the little budding relationship is that you're trying to build. You don't want to do that. So be very conscientious about respecting people's time and the effort that they're trying to put into getting to know you and spend time with you, and return their call. Now, do you have to call them back like right away? No, not like the next seconds, unless they say it's an emergency. But generally speaking, you would want to call the person back within a couple of hours. And I think even during work scheduled days, you get lunch, you get a break, you get to run to the bathroom, you can, make a quick call, 2-minute check-in call, or whatever you're going to do. there are opportunities to touch base and, return calls and tell the person that you're going to be able to talk longer, after blah, 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 or at, whenever. But those are some of the tips that I think are important. People really don't handle their phone etiquette or use of the phone very well. There's way too much texting and not enough personal, voice-to-voice conversation and face-to-face time spent. I mean, there's so many ways that you communicate with facial expressions and sounds and body language that are not available for you to interpret and get to really know someone and how they communicate if all your communication is taking place by text. And it's very easy to miscommunicate and misconstrue words. I mean, you can't see that somebody might be smiling when they're saying something and that it's a joke. So you're just reading the screen and you think you're taking it way too seriously and getting all bent out of shape or your feelings hurt when that's not what they really meant at all. So, that also is a problem, and that's another issue with texting that I don't like. You can't see the person's face, you can't really hear any inflections in their voice, and you can't see any body language. So you don't really know how they meant stuff. So I suggest before you jump to conclusions, pick up the phone and say, oh, well, I was reading you, sent me this text and said blah, 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 blah. What did you mean by that? And don't say with a funky attitude, just ask, get clarification. And then the person might explain it and you'd be like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't really clear. I'm glad that I had called you and that we were able to clear that up. And then you go on and continue with the conversation. All right, so you guys are doing really well. I want to thank everybody who's been sending in questions. It really does help me crank out these videos, and I don't have to think of all the subject matter all by myself with my last little brain cells. It's very helpful. I hope all of you have a great holiday tomorrow, and I'm going to take the day off tomorrow. No videos on Christmas Day, but I'll be back the day after and have another great topic for you guys to learn some more about dating and relationships. Deb Cooper from survivingdating.com signing out.